I want to show you my number. This A is for Auschwitz. It was done in Auschwitz. And it was the people who were like us there who had to do that. The Nazis stood with their guns next to them, so naturally they had to do that. But I don't know the number. I never look at it. I was born in Hungary, and I had two sisters, and a father and mother and many relatives. My city was called Marosvásárhely, which is impossible to write down. We were in our home until 1944, when the Germans came into Hungary. We were taken into trains with the railroad cars. We were put into those, and we were taken to Auschwitz. When we got out, we saw this smoke, and then we could smell some very strange things. And we were lined up, men on one side and women on the other side, in rows of 5. And then a doctor, whose name was Mengele, I found out later, stood in front of and we had to proceed ahead. And he was pointing with his stick, those who had to go left and those who had to go right. They killed those that went left with gas, and then they burned them in the crematorium, and that is what we could smell when we came. I was 15 at the time. My older sister was 18. And my mother, we went on the right side, so we were okay, but my younger sister was only 12. And my mother, who spoke German, said, "This is my child and I want her to come with us," so they let her do that. Then one day they decided that my older sister and I should go into another camp. My mother and younger sister were, I didn't see them anymore. My older sister and I, we worked at the railroad tracks. We put down all kinds of things, and we had to dig holes and things, and it was frozen. So it was a terrible situation. We were there for some time until the Russians were close by and they had to take us away from there. So they took us into a camp in Germany called Bergen-Belsen. That was actually just hell. It was filthy and dirty. We didn't work anymore. There was disease. There were lice, there were all kinds of things like that. And it got to the point where my sister and I just couldn't even walk anymore. And she got sick with typhus, and she passed away right next to me. When my sister died, I just probably gave up because I didn't remember anything after that. I don't know how I came out, but I found myself in a clean bed with 12 beds in a beautiful room. Several of these people who survived, like myself, were taken to Sweden. That's where I met my husband. And he too was a Holocaust survivor. And he introduced himself. We talked, and my friend and I, we made remarks in Hungarian, thinking he didn't know Hungarian. It turned out that he did. But that was a highlight of my hospital stay, because we became friends, and then we got married, and we were married 65 years. And when we had our family, we became very happy about that, you know. We became sort of a normal family. Someone asked me whether I hate the people, and I don't think I ever had hatred in my heart. But then after the war, I read Jewish writings. It says that you should love thy neighbors and your enemies. But I could not love my enemies, but I tried not to hate them. I don't know why I survived, and my siblings and my parents did not. There were 6 million Jews who were put to death during this time, during the Second World War. There were a few survivors, but now, of course, a lot of us are getting fewer and fewer. My husband spoke quite often to schools about his experiences, and I never could, because I had the feeling that if I start speaking and you feel sorry for me, I will start to cry. But since he passed away, I felt that maybe I shouldn't be crying, and I became strong.
Visit pioneer.org/postcards to catch up on missed episodes and to find out more about your favorite segments. Postcards is made possible by the Minnesota Arts and Cultural Heritage Fund and the citizens of Minnesota. Additional support provided by Margaret A. Cargill Philanthropy, Mark and Margaret Yackel-Julien on behalf of Shalom Hill Farms, a retreat and conference center in a prairie setting near Windham, Minnesota. On the web at shalomhillfarm.org. Alexandria, Minnesota, a year-round destination with hundreds of lakes, trails, and attractions for memorable vacations and events. More information at explorealex.com. The Lake Region Arts Council's Arts Calendar, an arts and cultural heritage funded digital calendar showcasing upcoming art events and opportunities for artists in West Central Minnesota. On the web at lrac4calendar.org.